Okay, so got this harp in the mail from a friend. This is sent to us by our harping friend, Mr. He. It has a broken reed or broken trigger. It's broken right up here. And at one time, it may have said England. I notice here it says land, and then there's a bit of, looks like a bit of welding over it. Then SM, looks like one, it says here. This is an old harp, looks like a J.R. Smith. And normally I wouldn't repair a harp like this. All the Englands and J.R. Smiths I played in the past play like garbage due to the fact that the reeds on them are so deformed from years or even decades of abuse. But this one, we're going to come back up here. And I see now why he sent it here. Give a listen to this, even with a broken trigger. Now, I see exactly the reason why he wants this harp fixed. This harp plays very excellently, melodically, very clean, very unsaturated, which isn't something that I've found in a lot of old harps. So this harp is a treasure. It still plays quite well despite higher tone and some trigger noise because we got this sharp trigger that's actually scratching up the end of my finger. Full disclosure, I told him, this is an old instrument. It's old steel. I don't know if it's cast. I don't know if it will adjust well. And the reed is a unique shape, so there are some risks. In doing this, we may go out to the shop and we may completely fail, so I'm a little bit terrified, but I'm also a little bit excited to reread this. Here we have that swell, which I don't think I'm going to put a swell in it because I can't guarantee the results. And if we put a reed in it, it's going to deform to one side or the other, so there is going to be some readjustment in this harp. We may ruin this harp, so harp, you are excellent. And may you rest in peace. It's getting a different soul. Let's head on out to the cold shop and see what we come up with. Whether or not this harp fails or not, I'm probably going to post it anyways, just for exploratory thing, because I am good at putting reeds in harps that I make in the context of the harps that I make. Now, this harp is a totally different shape, not a lot to grab onto, going to be difficult to adjust possibly, so I may have to put it on the anvil. Striking this instrument on my anvil may break it. We don't know. So let's head on out to the shop and see what we got. So let's just take a minute. Let's find out what the thickness of this reed is. I've got a couple different varieties that I normally use. 1074 .020 spring steel Rockwell of 45. Here's some 1074 spring steel Rockwell of 44. 0.025 thickness. And I've decided I'm not going to do this swell in the middle. I want something where I can more guarantee the result. Let's see what the thickness of this is. This is .04. See if we can get a good reading. About .035. So we're quite a bit thicker. We're going to go with the .025 spring steel. It's coming up closer to .030. Yeah, okay. So the spring steel we're going to use. My next thing is we're going to try to get this reed out of here. So let's come over to a vise and let's just see what happens. We are not super well prepared for this, but we'll just have to see what happens. I got my steel jaws in here. I also have brass, but I figure steel jaws. Another thing we're going to go over, whoever you are, wherever you are, protect your eyes. Too many makers, too many metal workers end up losing their eyes or damaging them from working with steel, especially wire wheels. I've even heard of many people who, even wearing safety glasses, wire wheels, threw a wire from one of the brushes into their eyes. So at very least, protect your eyes, protect your ears when you need to. Let's see if we can get this reed out of here. I'm just gonna grab it, start seeing if I can waller that hole out. I don't know how long this will take me to remove, but it looks like, yeah, we've loosened it now. Looks like it will have to come out the front. Normally I would push it out the back because it'd be tapered, but this is, I'm gonna call it a reverse taper. It swells and it gets skinnier, so I need to push this out this way. It needs to come forward, I believe. Now, I may fail at this. Let's just move this so you can see a little better. angle. There we go. That's as good as we're going to get. We're going to do some wiggling on this. Here's harp jaws, or pliers that I made the jaws as I seen fit, but any type of pliers would probably work for this. See if we can get this out of here. But I really got it crimped in here well. I don't know how long this will take me to get this out of here. I could grind those ears off of there, but I almost don't want to do that. Let's see if we can tap that out of there. The wee man hammer here. Got me a blunt instrument here. We'll see if we wiggle it a little bit. We'll see if I can just tap that out of there. I've never removed a reed from this style of harp, so it seems like, oh, it's moving. Yeah, there we go. Let's see if we can pull that out of there now. Yeah, we moved it forward that far. Let's see if we can just get it the rest of the way out of here. Well, the very act of clamping this in the vise will be deforming the instrument a little bit. Come on out of there. There we go. We got the reed. Got the reed out of there. Very cool shape. We're much thicker at the back. Let's take some thickness readings. This looks like it's been, okay. This looks like it's been hammered flatter here. So they took a reed and then it looks like they hammered it out thinner there. So that's interesting. We're gonna take this. We're gonna do it in standard 0.40 near the swell. We're 0.25, which is what we're gonna be using. And at the back where there's no taper, we are 0.44, about 0.45. That looks like it's what they did. They either ground it thinner or hammered it out. And you can actually see, this was hand filed. You can actually see the file marks as they filed it. Very cool. Let's get back out here. I'll put this device. Even though you won't be able to see as well, I need to be able to work well. I need it perpendicular to my table so I can adjust it. And we're just going to deal with it as is. Let's come back over here. I don't know if I'll be doing a whole bunch of editing or a little bit of editing on this. But, oh yes, another thing I would like to do. Another thing that I want to do, I have this reed here clamped in my vise. I have a tuner on my iPhone, total tuner. We're around a C3. I'm betting it was probably somewhere around an A2 or G2 sharp before this trigger broke, because we did lose quite a bit of weight. Probably A2 or somewhere abouts. Let's proceed forward. Okay, so we're here. We got the spring steel, which is 0.025. And that's the last we're going to be doing anything in standard measurement. I'm switching over to metric because metric is just easier to work with. Here I have a pencil. I'm going to give it a sharpen. I'm going to sharpen it right on the table. Let you see it. Yeah, my fancy pencil sharpener. I like to have a sharp pencil for this. Here we have a ruler. I'm going to allow at least, let's see, our height on this was probably, we're going to do this in metric, be around 1 millimeter, probably 2 millimeters. I'm going to burn some off the end. So I'm going to allow 4 centimeters for my trigger. So I'm just going to mark that. I don't know if you can see this. I'm not setting up any extra lighting to do this. I'm allowing 4 centimeters for my trigger. We're going to put a mark on our frame here, and a mark on our frame before it starts to bend back out. I'm going to take a measurement here, right where my marks are. .15. So right where my trigger ends, I'm going to put a mark to scratch all. And I may end up recutting this reed. I don't know. I have this other mark on my frame. We're going to measure the distance in between there where my trigger bend is going to be. It is right about 3 centimeters. So I'm going to put another mark there. And if you notice, beyond this, we're really long. I want it to be long because I want something to hold on to as I grind it. I'm going to take another measurement. These aren't expensive calipers. I think I got them from Harbor Freight. Someday I'm going to invest in a good set which this is not a good set, but it's workable. 3.86. So at my other measurement here, if I can quit the shake, it's kind of cold in here. I have this taper established. I measured it. I don't know if you see exactly what I'm doing here. We're almost coming down. Almost coming down to nothing there. There's my taper, which is what this is here right now. We're going to take it over the shear. We're going to cut it. I don't know if we have a good way. We'll see if I can set you. Ain't great places to set up. I didn't bring the big tripod up. This is our .020. Here's our .025. I like to have a little light here so that I can see exactly where this is on the edge of the shear. Okay. There we are. Okay, there we have our reed cut. One thing that I will point out to people, don't make the same mistakes as me. Careful of your reed ends. I put one of these through one side of my thumb and it actually came out the other side of my thumb. It stings very badly if you do that. Now what we should have here, we're gonna check it, is kind of a copy of the harp. Come back here. We allowed 4 centimeters. I'll just remark that so you can see it better. That will be the area of about the trigger bend. We're a little bit fatter, but once we grind on that a little bit, it's going to thin it back down, I think, very nicely. Yeah, I think that'll work out. I think that'll work out nicely once that's ground down, because I'm going to lose a little bit of the width as I'm grinding away. Going to have to widen up this channel a bit as well. Yeah, very much so. Now, blah, 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 just shifting the camera around a bit. We had 4 inches. I'm going to grind it all the way to up here. I want to mark that. Permanent marker. That's where my grind is going to actually begin. Let's come over here to the grinder. There's a good area for me to set this up. Hold on. We're going all about. There we go. That will work. Got a light here. This is just an adjustable speed grinder as a craftsman. I don't know if they still make them anymore. You can turn it up and turn it down. I enjoy this style. It might have cost me 120 bucks. Before I grind a reed, I want to make sure that my grinding wheel is somewhat flat. If it's not flat, just use your deal to square it back out. Whenever I'm grinding anything, especially harp frames, I grind on whatever side's fattest to keep that even. Now I cut off a bit of nitrile coated heavy duty work glove, just the finger, so that I can run this reed along my finger without cutting it. Now I'm just going to taper this, well, I might taper it 2 sides, we'll see. There's a little bit of curve to it. I like to get that curve out, but that curve will begin coming out as you work it more. I slowly go along there. And I move the reed, I don't move my hand. Careful not to overheat the tip. I go until I can't see any light glinting off the edge. Almost a couple more passes. Yeah, I don't feel any glinting off there. Now it's going to be sharp. I'll take it couple times with the wood to knock that burr off. And I'll come do the same thing on the other side. So when I'm doing this, my starting point is here. I'm going to mark that on the other side so I can see it. I'm flipping over. You want to choose an angle that's not super steep, but also not real shallow. That about has it, probably one more pass. Light blending in a couple places. There we go. That's got a burr on it. Now it is at this point where that end becomes razor sharp. I'm probably going to dull that just a tad. It was in this scenario before that I ran one of these. It went clean through my thumb, out the other side. Little tiny needle went through. It burned like fire. Didn't like it, so learn from my mistakes that reeds can hurt you fairly substantially, and they are sharp. This has quite the burr on it, as a grinder will do. I used to do this on just a plain stone. These are DMT diamond plates, what I sharpen my knives on. I really enjoy them. I got 4 of them for like $100, but they are not a necessity. I like them because they're always going to be flat. Stones will wear away over time. We're going to start off with a coarse. On the back side of this, of this reed is a burr. You can actually feel it. You can actually see it. So I'm going to take that off. Just sliding over there. Careful not to pass this through your finger. And then I'm also going to do the edge. I feel I want to see smooth. I don't have to spend a whole bunch of time on this course, but I'm also going to take the burr off the back side where there is no edge, so that it slides into that in that crimp area once I get it filed out well. And also, a reed shouldn't have any burrs. It shouldn't have any deformities, sharp places, because that is an excellent place for a reed to crack. So we want to make sure that it is smooth or semi-smooth. Any changes in a reed should be done gradually. No harsh 90-degree changes. I'm also going to feel down the reed. I want it to maintain a sharp angle, but I'm knocking that edge. I'm hitting it upright so that it doesn't have a sharp edge, so that it won't cut or abrade your tongue or your lip. Sharp angle is important. Sharp edge is not. We don't want a razor blade touching our fingers or our teeth or our lips. So sharp, but not sharp, if that makes sense. We're going to switch it over. That's an extra course. We're going to a course. Spend some time on there. I really like these DMT, the non-interrupted surfaces, the continuous diamond surfaces. Interrupted surfaces that have the holes in them just allow areas for the tips of the reed to catch. But if you have interrupted surface, work with what you got. If you got a stone, work with what you got. Whatever you have is what you should be using at the time, in my mind. Now, I'm rambling on like I'm an expert at this. I'm pretty good at making my own harps, but working on other people's harps, especially this ancient antique harp, it may be a fail video. And this is going to be a long video. It just is. It's going to be multiple parts probably. Transition, we're just going to, come on now. This back part, we're going to smooth it out. Don't want any burrs. Smooth reed, smooth sound. And some people will be like, well, I want to do that entirely by hand. You don't need a grinder to do this, but for removing spring steel, especially as you get into harder spring steels, the bulk of the metal removal is easiest done on a grinder if you have a steady hand. Now, it's very easy, especially if you have a grinder that can't be turned down. That one, I turn it down to super low speed. If you have a high-speed grinder, it's super easy to untemper your metal or do a really nasty job grinding it. So be aware of that. But if you want to spend couple hours doing all the grinding by hand on a stone, that's fine as well. We're switching over to a super fine. We're just on the fine. I'm rotating it around. I'm running down the edge, but I'm also dulling it just a little bit. smoother and smoother. I want the reed to be safe. Yeah, I'll feel down it. That feels pretty smooth. Back here, not quite as smooth. We'll go over a little bit more. Yeah, I like that. Now, where are we at? I'm gonna get me a sip of water. Get my stool back over here. Let's just take a look. It's always best to not grind away too much, not do too much without looking. Stop, look at the instrument. It'll talk to you. Now we're gonna have to do a lot of work to this. I'm somewhat centered. I'm being pushed to one side. I'm gonna have to do a lot of work filing this out. So we'll come on over here. Here is the vise. I'm gonna turn it sideways. In previous harp making videos, I showed you about the table that I made. This is an old Wilton, well, not an old Wilton, this is a newer Wilton vise. I really like this vise, but buy whatever vise you want. I started with like an $80 Craftsman vise. My mother-in-law, Grammy Cindy, bought me on a Black Friday sale, and it has served, I still use it to this day. We switched over to the Wilton. Move the dull sander here. You don't have to have an extravagant shop like me. I want this somewhat level. All this is a 12-inch or 16-inch piece of 2x4, 8-inch piece of 2x4. I ran 3 torch wood screws so it sits perpendicular, so I can slide that right into my vise so that I have a nice table to clamp to. This is a cheap wooden vise, or cheap vise that, or cheap clamp that's used most of the time on wood, so that I can take this. Here's my crimp facing up. I'm gonna clamp it in there. In these videos, they are the most work to make, but they're rewarding. So I'm glad I'm spending time to make this. This is a Grobet or Grobet Swiss 3-square file. I started out using files from Harbor Freight. You can still use that. One of the files I do use a lot is this. That's wood. Is this one here. It's triangular, but it's file on one side, flat on the back. I'm going to start off with this Grobet 3-square file. We're just going to file over a little bit. Careful about your angle. File a little bit, run your reed in there, check it. We're going to have to do quite a bit of filing. Now I'm putting more pressure upward and outward because I don't want to so much cut this deeper, but it is going to result in being a deeper cut. So I'll file a little bit, test, file a little bit, test, because it's super easy to go too far. I went too far many a time, and we're going to have to go a long ways, or I would have to grind this out differently. Which I'm not going to do, because I'm not going to be hammering this out like they did. This may have a forged reed. This is pretty old harp. I'm going to file on one side, file on the other. I like to sight down it and make sure that I'm not cutting it in an angle, which is happening here a little bit. I want the bed that I'm filing to be absolutely flat. It's really easy as you're filing to torque one way or another, so you need to be mindful of that. File a little bit, check a little bit, sight down it. You'll see harp makers are always sighting down, looking, especially at first before you get the feel for it. More looking, less doing, more checking. Okay, now we got the harp out of the vise here. And you see where it's wanting to push us over to this side. So that means I need to grind more on this side and grind more so that it deflects that way. I'll grind off this portion, I'll grind off the back of there, and it will turn it a little bit. More checking, less doing. We'll grind on the back of here. We'll grind here. See where that gets us. We got a long ways to go. I'll probably cut a lot of this out of the video, unless you want to see like half an hour of filing. Yeah, that's more centered now. We're going to continue. We're going to continue the filing. This is an area where you do not want to get in a hurry, I have learned. I don't want to get in the habit of rereading a whole bunch of old harps, but this harp is just so special that it needed to be rereaded. We're getting somewhere now. Yeah, okay. Keep that going. We check that we're filing semi-flat. We don't want a curved or concave bed filed out for a reed. That's not a good thing. It can cause premature reed failure. The bed needs to be flat. When I'm done with this, this will be filed deeper than the old. Also, we're going to have to do adjustment on the frame, so I hope this frame accepts our adjustments that we make. Okay, let's check. It is deflecting us off to the right side. So again, so I need to file more on here, file more on the back of there so it turns in there. Another thing I would suggest if you're going to be doing a lot of filing, wear some breathing protection so you're not breathing in this metal dust. For the sake of the video, I am not wearing any breathing protection so that you can hear me talk. I've noticed you will develop a cough if you're filing lots of metal, breathing in lots of metal shavings. Just like dirt, your lungs like air. They don't like dust. They don't like metal. File a little bit, and I'll see if I'm still deflecting off to the side. Oh yeah, we're getting good now. Now this will not be the exact same sound of harp. This is going to be a reimagining of this harp based on the materials I have at hand. We're not doing the swell. We are doing this Jamie Bibb style, as I see fit. We're starting to get a little bit somewhere with the reed. So at these instances where I've run these through my finger, yeah, we're beginning to get somewhere. I'll look at this channel I'm cutting. Needs to be flat. See if we're still flat. I'm down this back, so I'm going to switch file for a minute. Flatten this back out without widening us. Yeah, that'll work. File check, file check. Front, we look good. Give her a couple little taps. We're getting better. We're still deflecting off to one side a little bit, which when I crimp it, that's what it's going to want to do. It's going to want to turn that way if I continue to follow exactly where I'm following. It's in there pretty good. Don't make the mistake of me. And a lot of times after I tapped them in there, I pull as hard as I can. I end up sliding down the reed, cutting myself. I'm going to clamp it and then vise with these jaws. Pull it out of there, be safe. Come back close. Check from the front, make sure that bed is flat, and it is. We will be spreading this frame apart a little bit as well. I hope this frame, the steel, will accept the adjustments. We're going to want to get at least 3 to 3.5 centimeters tall for my trigger. I have enough to loop it. See if we're getting close. Better, we're still deflecting onto the one side. So I did a bit more grinding on the reed. I tapered it on, or ground it on both sides, thinned it out a little bit. Just gonna take a look. Now that's plenty that I can cut off to have my trigger. It looks like it's going to deform a little bit to the right, so I will alleviate that. I'm gonna make sure that our reed channel is absolutely flat. We're gonna pound this in, and then we're gonna do a little bit of grinding. Make sure we're flat or close to it. Always looking. Yeah, okay. One side was a bit high. I went ahead and alleviated that. Let's see what we got when we pound this into place. I did quite a bit of regrinding and honing on this reed to get it to match the frame. It's now beveled on both sides. We're going to tap that in. Okay, we're going to see what happens now. This may not go well, it may go well, I'm not sure. Okay, now we have a couple little bumps at the back of here, which I'm going to grind off with a Dremel. Hearing protection is important. I like the Dremels or rotary tools that turn up and turn down. Get rid of some of this extra mass here from the old set. Instead of fresh metal. I'll shut that off. I'll take this off. I should unplug it for safety, but oh wait, we don't have to even do that. What I do have on this Dremel, we're going to unplug it for safety since my fingers will be touching this, is one of these little click or quick connect Dremel tools. Looks like that. It's nice for changing out. We're going from a grinding blade to a cutting blade. I'm going to cut a relief next to the reed, right next to the side of it. This is going to make it a lot easier to crimp. I've got a lot of mass here. Drawing about an 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch next to the reed. I'm not measuring, I'm just estimating. So what we look like, you can see it. I didn't set up lighting in here, is there's two reliefs cut next to there. Now we got these tall ears here. I want to cut that down a little bit further. We're going to grind a little bit more off before we do our crimp. I don't want to have to beat this harp so hard that it deforms the entire harp. It is the act of crimping. I always have a little bit of deformation. With my designs, I can take them back out. We'll see with this one. probably be nice if I had a face shield here. Especially since I'm looking right at the spinning grinder blade. I'm gonna give it a couple more taps. There we go. There's our reed is in. We have those two little ears ground down. I have relief cuts next to them. We're gonna come over here. We're gonna put it to the anvil. We're gonna see if we can't crimp this. I crimp a little bit, check a little bit. Let's see what we come up with here. This is our homemade anvil made out of the earliest railroad track. Now we are deforming off to the side that I predicted we would. Every harp I've ever made has had some deformation. Hoping it doesn't get severe. I'm hoping there's enough frame to come back out right there. We're staying fairly even. I want to look next to the reed to make sure there's no spaces. I've got a little bit of space at the back here. This is a tinning hammer that I just ground the tip off that I can use for crimping. I have a big press. I don't find the press to be necessary for this. I like the way hand crimping it works better. I'm crimping a little bit, checking a little bit, holding it up to the light, seeing where I'm going. That's staying fairly even. And this metal is really responsive to the crimping process. Normally I'd be wearing hearing protection. I'm not in this instance. I'm looking next to the reed. I don't want to see any space because the vibration can cause it to loosen up. I'm not hitting it very hard. I'm just tapping it. I try to stress having a better bed cut for my reed and crimp so that I have to pound less. The more you have to pound, the more problems you tend to run into and the more deformation. I've deformed barely off to one side. That's about as good as I've ever had. Just a little bit here at the back. I'm going to try to get it filled in. Even if you have a tiny space the size of a hair, a lot of times you'll get a ringing bzz, bzz, bzz in the background. I would say we've got a little bit of adjustment to do, but we're crimped into there. I'm very content with that. I've had some absolute disastrous crimps before. I don't see any space. I like it. I like what we've done here. Let's go ahead. Take a pair of snips. I'll cut this off here. Get rid of this tail. I like working with 8-inch pieces. These are just old tin snips that I wore out. I'm a tinner as well at work. I do metal fabrication some. Those are just old pair of tin snips. Cut that off there. We're going to take it over the grinder, grind it off. My spring steel, I guess I didn't add this, but I normally work with spring steel that's 8 inches long. It gives me a nice handle to hold on to. Now we're going to grind this off the back of here. Turn her up a little bit. Hello, Diesel. Ground that tail off there. I'm going to take just the tip off of here. Turn it down. We have Diesel joining us over here. Say hello, Diesel. What's up? Yeah, we got him a few months ago from the shelter. He's a Cane Corso mix. He's Mr. Diesel. He's going through a thing where he's chewing things. He chewed up my son's favorite motorcycle toy and also chewed up my son's favorite Batman hat. He had a Batman baseball cap. So we're working on that. It's an ongoing thing. We'll turn this back over here. I could switch back over. My brass jaws for this are a lot more advanced. I have more options, but they are made specifically for my steel, not this one, so I don't want to deform my brass jaws. So I'm just using my iron jaws. We're gonna see, we've got some other options. We've got pliers, because we are deformed off to one side. Let's see what we come up with here. Oh, that adjusts easy. Oh, you want to be my friend, don't you? There we go. Now we got our space back. I want to make sure I'm on a flat plane. My decks, that can be alleviated later, or we can alleviate it right now. I want to make sure I'm not, here's my reed and one side's up. That makes the sound be out of time. What are you eating, Mr. Diesel? Chewing something else, I suppose? Hey, we don't chew that. You see this giant bone here? This giant bone, this one that's guarding? Chew that. Yes, it's an ongoing thing teaching Mr. Diesel what he can and cannot chew. Now, I may lay this on the anvil and work it. A lot of times with Morchang, I'll work them off an anvil. They seem to respond better to an anvil than a vise. Because this frame doesn't sit on a flat plane. And the vise is going to want to flatten it out, so. Oh. Now, I want to bring one side in. We'll see if I can do that just by cramping that in there. I'll move my reed to the side and I'll just apply light pressure. Try not to go too far, which I just went barely too far. A little bit, move that tip of that out. We're actually getting closer there. I got one tip that's gonna go in. I probably don't wanna get too crazy with my adjustments before I bend the trigger on this. That whole arm is warped a little bit. We'll see if I can just turn it. This is going better than I had thought it would. We're gonna lay this. This feels soft enough that I should be able to cold work it on my anvil a little bit. I have one side where I have some curvature. I'm gonna try to take that out. More looking, less doing. That needs to go out just a little bit. Just come back up here. We're going to be all over the place a little bit, making these adjustments. Dogs are in the garage doing their thing. Come on now, come back out of there. So easy to go too far. We're just gonna go a little bit out with both of them, and then we'll, once our ends are made, triggers made, we'll come back in. Sitting on a semi-flat plane. Now is the time that we're going to make a trigger. Things get messed so easily. Where is my ruler? Here we go. Come out. We're three. London, do not growl. Hey, that's not yours. That's not yours bone. It's a power struggle for the bone. Yeah, that's 3 centimeters, I believe. I'm gonna go out just a little bit past the edge of my frame. I have water here. I have a butane torch as well. And I have a few different types of pliers. I have loop making pliers. I have needle nose. And I have larger sets of needle nose. I also have... Okay, I had to warm this butane torch up a little bit. It may still be a little bit too cold for doing this, but we're just gonna find out. Push it behind. And I've got it marked where, right past where the end of my frame is, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna make this bend. I haven't eaten lunch yet and it's past lunchtime, so I'm a little shaky. I want to make sure definitely not to force this. I broke many a reed at this juncture doing that. It's hard working with this flame being so small or so cool. There, that feels about right. Take a look at that. Be about right. I'm going to nip just a little bit of that off. Make a loop. Well, let's see here. Yeah, I'm going to bring just a little bit of that end off. Let's see where that gets us. A little bit more, and then we'll make our trigger bend. Oh, I like that. We'll grind that off a bit. And we'll make our trigger bend. I found a friend of mine from the internet suggested these loop making pliers. They use them for jewelry. Really make it a lot easier to make your loops, provided I don't break this. I'm so shaky before I've eaten. You have to stop and eat first. Don't want to overheat this too much and then it loses its springiness. Okay, I'm not overheating now. It was. Bring the stool down. Come on, Harp, be my friend. Sit, that way we can rest. I heat up just the part that I'm working with. A little shaky. Water. Here we have a loop on there. Let's see how it sounds. These gaps are going to be much bigger because I wanted to tighten them down after I'm done. Yeah, it's going to work. I'm going to bring this up a little bit more, closer to a 90 degree. Let's look at the old one. The old one looks to be slightly recurved. I'll get it up at least at a 90. A little bit more. feel it yielding. There you go, that's recurved. I want to make sure that I'm at a perpendicular angle, which we are not, so I will remedy that. And then we'll give this a listen. So, yeah, I'm off to the side a little bit. I can do these pretty well cold, so long as it's not too far. Almost. There we go. There I'm perpendicular. Let's give a listen to the sound. See if we're of similar height. I just kind of estimated to our old trigger. I wonder where we're about at there. That's not as high as it used to be. Let's just see. I estimated A2. 33 cents shy of A2. That is purely by luck. That is not my skill. Let's see if we can get this adjusted now. We get the final adjustments made on this. I do not know if I'll be able to get this as tight as it once was. I don't know. We'll see. It's really easy to go too far. Push a little bit. Somebody's mowing down on a bone or some wood over there. Ooh, that's not bad. Okay, you can chew that. Hey! Now we're getting somewhere. We're getting tight. The tips need to go in a little bit. So I'm going to clamp. I want both of them to go in, it looks like. I'm going to clamp both of them in here in my vice jaws. And I want to pull my reed outside of there. I don't want my reed getting pinched. Just apply a little bit of pressure. This harp is a joy to adjust, actually. I was horribly frightened of it. Okay, and if you look, one of my arms is sitting slightly up. So it's resulting in fuzzy sound. We want to get rid of that. So we'll bring that one forward a little bit. If this doesn't work, I do have techniques for doing this on an anvil. Oh, snap. Oh, I about swore there. I shouldn't swear. But yeah. This tip needs to be brought out a little bit. I might go a tad tighter. This is the best of the old harps I have tried. Looking down for that plane. Go back just a little bit, went too far. It's hard to adjust this style of harp in a vise because it wasn't sitting on a flat plane. My harps, I do it all on a flat plane. This harp was kind of deformed to match the reed where it was at. Oh, dude. We're going to be all right, I think. A little tightening, little minor adjustments here and there. Yeah, I like it. Let's see if we can come in a little bit, tighten them up a little bit further. Of course, I went too tight. The importance of being patient with the harp. Just the whole frame out here. I do this without over adjusting it? Tad bit. I like it, but we can do a little bit better than that. Too far again. This frame adjusts so easily. Oh yeah. Got just a little bit of extra gappage that we need to remedy here. Man, that just adjusts so gently. I'm used to using a lot more pressure to get what I need. That's going to be something that I'm going to take out with the anvil. I'm going to go over the anvil and work it a little bit. But we're getting closer. Oh, dude. We can take the rest of this out, I think, with the anvil. I got a little bow there where this part isn't as tight. We're gonna see if we can't take that right back out. Just right there. Come on now, work for me. Oh, yes. This one here, we're going to take it. It's a little bit. Yeah, a little bit of ambling goes a long way. It took me a while. I've adjusted a lot of harps on an anvil, just cold, not even heating them up, to good results. But it is a feeling. I've ruined some harps too. Check our frame. This one needs to come up just a tad. I hear some minor pinging back here on the frame. I adjust, I look, I adjust, I look. It's nice when we have a diamond shaped frame. I do like that. We need to move just a tad, and then we're going to be good. Plain. Don't want to adjust this and adjust it and adjust it. Yes, I like that. Yeah, I think that is going to be about as good as we can get. A little bit of ping right there. You can come back out if not, I might end up leaving you. I don't want to ruin the whole frame, fussing with it too much. Overfuss. Always tedious there at the end. Oh. Does it sound like money though? Well, there it is right there. I really like the harp right where it plays. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to clean up this trigger a little bit on the wire wheel. Smooth it out. Frame up. I'll do something that may be a mistake here next. I'm going to do something. This next thing may be a mistake, but I'm going to temper the reed in the frame a bit. Let's give it a listen. Now let's see how this goes. I don't know how this one goes. Okay, harp. Done well. Let's see if this is a mistake. It sounds good now. U-shape pattern. Oh, it's got solder on it. Somebody soldered the frame at one point in time. I'll take you up to a straw temper. A more golden color. It's starting to turn a goldeny color. Bring that back here a little bit. You can see that happening. Yeah, there's straw right there. I'm going to leave that colored right there. As I take them up to blue or purple or coal color, we're just going to leave that. We're going to let it cool the ambient and see where we're at. Okay, here is the finished product. Tempered it straw. There's some hints of purple there. Tried to recreate the trigger as best as I could. I estimated it being somewhere around an A2 before the trigger broke. We ended up being 20 cents shy of A2, so it's about perfect. There is some solder on it. Somebody, I think, had tried to fix it, but let's just go ahead and let's listen to the sound. Simple, unsaturated sound, kind of like what I think it was before, especially after the trigger was broken. It was similar to that, but just higher because we lost quite a bit of mass. I think that's not too bad for dealing with a different frame shape, much different reed shape. I'm pretty content with how that came out. Like, share, and subscribe for more harpery. Harp out.